Hey.
Hi.
So we're going to talk today about what it's like being a couple and also selling on Amazon. Because I kind of started it and you came along a little bit later, but it was 6 years ago. And I remember when we started, it was really hard to find any content or videos of couples talking about it. There were some, and we knew them somewhat personally, so I was able to DM them, but YouTube and online was really tough. So hopefully this helps other couples that want to get into it, or at least if one of them is doing it and the other one's not into it, just kind of navigate that relationship. Because I think you can agree it has an effect on a relationship.
Absolutely.
Yeah, and some are good and some not so good.
Mm-hmm.
So if you think back to 2017, we were living in an apartment, and I came to you and I was like, I want to start selling on Amazon. What was that like? What was did you know? I don't remember. Did you know what that would look like, or were you did you believe that we were going to do it, and then did you realize what it would actually entail?
I did not. I don't think I did have a true idea of what it would entail. Obviously you explained everything to me and what the process was, and yeah, it was a journey.
It's still a journey.
It still is. I think I didn't expect it to take up so much of our living space, our personal time. Definitely had a measurable impact on our relationship, because it's definitely not a normal 9 to 5.
For sure. I think though, coming to you and telling you first before product just started showing up was important.
Yeah.
I imagine you would not have been okay with
I would have been very confused.
50 Target boxes overnight.
Yes.
Yeah. And then what was just right now, even fast forwarding, I would say help. I don't know what you would consider of as a partnership or help, because you do a lot of the behind the scenes, right? So you don't tend to do any sourcing, although when we do retail, sidebar, I think it's pretty adorable. When we go to Target or any store and you come up and you're like, I scan this product. I'm awesome. That's a great feeling. But most of it is prep or stuff like that. How do you feel the role, do you do that because you just want to help me? And I'm just curious about the mental aspect of doing Amazon, and are you okay with it now still? Do you just do it out of routine, or because you just feel compelled, or an expectation, or is it just you kind of enjoy the experience and helping and working together?
Yeah. I definitely started to help because I wanted to support you. This was something that you were really interested in and passionate about, and so any way that I could help, I wanted to do that, and I still feel similarly. But yeah, there are parts of it that I could leave on the table.
What do you hate the most? Hate's a strong word.
Yeah, hate is a strong word. I definitely do not like holding all the product that we receive, and also probably packing the product. However, there are some products that I do enjoy packing, like Funko Pops. Something that's really repetitive, I actually do enjoy, so that's a plus.
I love that you enjoy that, because I don't.
Like I said, I started out because I wanted to support you, and and you doing this supported us and our lifestyle, so it seemed like it made sense to help it or pitch in.
Yeah, I appreciate that, and I think that I don't want to say one of the lucky ones, but we talk to other people that do Amazon, and they obviously, their partners are aware of it and know what's going on, but they don't necessarily get involved in all, and I think that's okay. But what would you if you were, I'm putting you on the spot here, but if you were to talk to a spouse, it could be man or woman, a partner. So someone's doing Amazon, and this is the partner, and they aren't on board with it, or their partner, they're being presented this, hey, I want to do Amazon FBA. I'm gonna make some extra money. Would you say it'll be okay? What would you say to that person? Some people are just immediately against it, right?
Yeah.
It just sounds like it's going to really be a negative on their life, or it's to your point, going to clutter their home, or it's just going to be an inconvenience. And obviously getting out of the emotional, like you should support your spouse conversation, just like, I think there are ways to do it where it's not as, like there's ground rules. And I feel like you've set some ground rules. Can you walk me through like what those are for you and like why that's important?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, it is something that could take over your entire life and your spouse's or partner's life. So to set up ground rules is really important, and you kind of figure that out along the way, and there'll be some turbulence, but you both got to be understanding with each other's wants and needs. The ground rules. Oh, and like you were asking about, people not being so supportive.
Yeah.
Like I feel as though even though it can be a big lifestyle change, seeing the difference that your attitude has taken from doing this, I feel like has been such a benefit, even though, it kind of encroaches on our daily lives. The fact that you're just happier and you're freer has just been a huge benefit to you and to me as well. And so that's been an important aspect into why I support you.
That's so kind. Yeah, I mean, to be like frank, right? To be like really transparent with everyone that's potentially watching, right? There was when we started this, I was working full time at a job that I didn't love, and the goal was to make extra money, potentially to quit that job, but really just to like stop being so stressed about money, to like help pay for rent. Then there was a period where this was full time, which was very stressful. And then now it's kind of gone back to part time. So there's a full time job, and then this is something else. But it's grown because we've just gotten processes down that make sense for us. Again, which is important. And there were breaks in there. There was like a couple of months here and there where we didn't do much of anything. But I think, to your point, and I don't generally think about it, right? There is a somewhat, I don't say a freedom, but there is like being able to not have to rely on just one income source helped me and my mental feelings and my stress, which makes sense that you would feel that. So it's really nice that you took that into consideration when choosing. And some of the other ground rules, right? So we've moved 3 times since we've started. We purposely bought our current home for like our 400 square foot basement to like manage inventory. So like we bought the home knowing that basement was not going to be recreational space. It was going to be inventory warehousing. But that has definitely helped the creep. Like it is not creeping into the living room as much. Still does. But it definitely doesn't really make it upstairs. Like it doesn't really get into our bedroom or into like our guest rooms or anything, which is really nice. And then shopping trips. Most of the time, you're totally fine.
Yeah.
Like we go to Target for groceries, and a 15-minute trip is like a 35-minute trip because we go to the different aisles. But we had to learn this the hard way of communicating, sourcing. Like you tell me now before we go, hey, like I don't want to, like I want this to be like a quick trip, or like I don't want to source. Or sometimes I'll even ask you like, hey, like I think there's an opportunity, or like I heard there's like clearance or whatever. I'd love to go look. Can I, like, is it okay? Do we have the time? So like that was like a stress point for us for like a little bit.
Yeah, absolutely.
Where we had to sit down and you were like, listen, I'm not gonna go out with you anymore.
If all we're gonna do is source.
So like to the point of ground rules, I think it's communicating. Like just be constantly communicating, because otherwise, like I imagine if I was living alone, the product would still be everywhere. I would just still be out of the house probably a little bit more. But like by communicating, I've even changed my model, like my style of Amazon, which has actually been for the better because of that. And then kind of the one that I know a lot of people are gonna be curious about is finances. We're fortunate where we don't rely on Amazon for any like financial support to pay our mortgage. So we take very, very little out of the business, if anything. When we first started, it was a big concern. It was like, okay, so, and we talked about even making it an LLC partnership because you were clearly involved. And for tax purposes, we just kept it individual. For anyone watching, definitely save some money, but partnerships are worthwhile if that makes sense for you. But I remember, like, we were like, okay, if we start making money, like, how is this going to work? Like, do I pay you? Do we just take a percentage? And I think we kind of came to the conclusion that the money the business makes that ultimately ends up being, like, our family, like, comes to us as profit is family money that pays for, like, family-related things, like our mortgage and groceries and what have you. And so we don't really pay ourselves we don't look at the work we do and say, okay, you've earned this and I've earned that. I think if we really wanted to scale and it grew into a really big thing, we would probably just be like W-2 employees and we would pay ourselves like a paycheck. But I think it's important that obviously, like, if you're working on the business, then you get financial, like your time is valuable. Even as my wife, my partner, you have other things you could be doing. So the fact that you're building Funko boxes or like helping prep products or going sourcing with me, that, you know, at a certain point, there has to be like, okay, we're going to pay ourselves, but we each get paid.
Yeah.
And it's not like we're not pocket watching each other. Like you get a paycheck and I get a paycheck. But right now, and if you can do it, I mean, the longest possible without paying yourself is great, like scale. But I think that's important. And that was really hard at the beginning to figure out. And there's just no resources. Like there's no right way to do it. It entirely is up to like us. But I know we had to ask a lot of people like independently, like, what do you do?
Yeah, because there's a point where you're just helping a little bit where, it doesn't seem like that much, but then it can accumulate into, I actually invested a couple of hours in doing this.
Yeah.
So I think it's easy to not think about paying your partner or sharing some of that, with them, because it's just like, we're hanging out, you're just helping along, but it actually does accumulate. And so I think it is important.
It impedes on your life. And I don't want to say, like, there are definitely partners out there that if their spouse is just doing it because they want to, and great, like, you don't have to.
Yeah.
There's no requirement that says you have to pay each other. But I think it's important to recognize that you should have that conversation and figure out what makes sense for the two of you. Because, at some point, a business takes people to run it, and there will be hours spent doing. And one of you is making a ton of money, and the other one's like not able to get. It's like it's a weird area, but you have to figure out yourselves. But you should definitely have that conversation. And again, for us, it was just like the money that we make comes into like as a family pot, and it just goes to family expenses. And if there was a lot of money that came in, we would start figuring out how we wanted to pay each other, like with a paycheck that then was ours to do what we want with.
Yeah.
And then there are some perks. There are some like undefined perks to I think both sides. But I would feel like, and we were just talking off camera about some like the things, like some inventory that's gone missing.
I mean, I think I take it as a bonus, as a form of payment. Definitely I can rely on you to find some good deals for things I've been looking for, or maybe things that I didn't know I wanted.
There's a lot of new product that just like flows through the house, like a conveyor belt, and it's like, that's cool. I'm just like gonna try that out. And returns that we have to figure out what to do with that sometimes like are still new, but like just really can't be resold, that end up in your closet, which is great.
And then gifts.
And the gifts, for each other, but also for like nieces, nephews, kids. I mean, we do a lot of toys.
Yes, so that makes it easy.
But we essentially go shopping in our basement.
Yeah.
Which has been awesome. I mean, we pay for the product, obviously, but we never have to stress come Christmas time. And then there's some trips. I mean, like we're shooting this right now. Like this video is being shot, I don't know, thousands of miles away from our home, because like I was coming for business, and if you're already paying for one room, it doesn't cost any more to have your partner come along. It's just a plane ticket. And so we've got to travel to some cool places. Yeah. Just because of Amazon, and we do it together.
Even sourcing trips.
Yeah.
Like we've been road trips where we've been going store to store, can take us to cool places that we both get to enjoy.
Quality time too.
Yeah.
Yeah. So overall, I think it's been a fun ride. And what is it? So I said 6 years, and I don't see an end point. Like it's not like we have like a date where we're stopping. So like we're just gonna keep riding out together and see where it takes us.
Yeah. I am along for the ride.